Welcome back to episode 4 now of Squeezing the Plums. I'm incredibly excited to bring one of my closest friends onto this podcast for you. He's a PT, he's a strength coach, but more than that, he's a guy that I have a super close bond with because he does a couple of things similar to myself that I've always wanted to tap into. He trains like a man possessed, and I wanted to get inside the head of how that actually happens. What does he focus on? What does he do? How does he get that killer instinct, and where does it come from? We speak about things that relate to rage and violence and energy, and for some men that are listening, that's going to really, that's going to really tailor to them. On the other end, we have a soft approach, which is talking about the women in our lives, and we also talk about the idea of being single and seeing women and how we view that, whether it's in a gym environment or in a social environment. And we weren't really meant to take the conversation there, but it happened. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this episode. Once again, please remember to subscribe to Squeezing the Plums. Every time you do that, you make a difference. You make sure that the voice that is speaking or the guest that is speaking has their voice heard. And it is so therapeutic for these men that are listening to it. And I hope to continue recording these episodes. So welcome to episode 4. I'm Stephen Singh, and this is Squeezing the Plums. Before I get started, I legit wanted to ask you this before you came in today. How heavy are you and how much do you squat? Because I saw your video the other day and I'm like, this motherfucker's putting on plates more than anyone. And I'm like, I went and I did a gym session this week and I said, I'm going to squat like you. I'm going to squat like Nick. Yeah. And put a bench under my ass so I got all the way down and I was like a baby giraffe under the weight. So I want to know, straight off the bat, whoever's listening, what kind of human we've got in front of us now.
Weighing anywhere between 77. I fluctuate 2 kilos. I can fluctuate 2 kilos in a day, easy. So anywhere between 77 to 80 kilos.
That's one shit.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically. So literally the last time I jumped on the scales was yesterday actually, and I weighed 79 point something, 79.3 or something like that, 0.6.
Tell me what you're squatting.
Oh, give me a rep range.
I want you to tell me what you're squatting for 3.
For 3, I haven't done a heavy 3 in a minute, but my heavy 5s are at 150. So 150 for 5, always at 160. I think it's 160 for 5.
So you're doing double your body weight.
And some. Yeah.
That is unreal. Can I ask you, what do you do for work, and why is it that you push yourself to the extreme? Because I watch your videos on social media, and I'm like, you're an animal. And I've trained with you a few times, and I've been trained by you a couple of times.
Yes, you actually have.
And I want to know a little bit behind, why do you push yourself to extremes harder than most other guys I've seen train?
Yeah. So obviously PT, specializing in strength and conditioning. So strength and conditioning coach. Been doing that for 12, 13 years now, I think, coming on to. And it just, I guess, being in that sports background, growing up, really helped try to figure out what I wanted to do. And then with work, you've got to, obviously, knowing the type of role you have, trying to be motivating, you've got to practice what you preach. And I take that seriously, you know what I mean? So you want to try to, obviously, you are your brand. You are your brand. So, and trying to be as strong as possible at any point in my life is a goal and is a number one objective for me.
And do you think that, that alters people's perception of you? They see you train, they see you lift on Instagram, and then go, wow, I need to do what this guy's doing. I need to be trained by Nick.
Well, yeah, I guess it definitely helps. One, from, you could say a marketing perspective, but inspiring is part of the job. Trying to inspire people to be able to see what you're capable of and have zero limitations on yourself, I think, is super important. I love to live by that.
When you're going to that state of lifting heavy and you're trying to like get your music on and you're trying to get your head in the zone, I hear you go,
and screaming, and slapping, yeah.
And people, when they watch weightlifters train, they don't understand. It's like you're putting a fucking human on your shoulders.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Like it's going to fall on you if you don't like get yourself into the zone. What do you think about, or do you have like a song you play, or do you have a thought you go to, or do you have a dark moment you capture and you go, nah, not fucking today. I'm lifting this.
All of the above.
CUNT off the freaking ground. Yeah. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so all of the above. I've got obviously a couple of little vices that I'll go to. I personally go to a very dark place. I think I put up a story or a little kind of like, you'd say, quote, like Coach Nick quote about that. And it's like about using emotions and how to control them. Especially with like anger or, upset, sad, those emotions that we think are bad emotions, because they're not bad emotions at all, or negative emotions. I try to use that negative emotion in a positive manner. So going to a dark place, for me, some people some people might think, why would you want to go to a dark place? That's kind of like negative. It's like, well, I find I draw the most amount of energy from that. So something that's obviously triggered me from, growing up when I was younger, I'll go to a real dark place where the hurt was like extremely like hurt. And I use that with the music to help put myself in a mindset on top of just like those little things that I'm very, very big on, basically like military mindset, like you got Navy SEALs and like their mentality on how they're able to push through certain situations. So I really love that kind of like never say die attitude. When I'm about to do a lift, I'm pretty much getting myself psyched up to think you're coming off the fucking ground. Like, or if it's a deadlift or if it's a back squat, like I'm hitting this rep. Like there's no ifs, there's no buts. Like it's getting done. I'm trying to get just as juiced up as possible. There is no tomorrow. Kind of like one that I use this for lifting as well, but I also use this for like running. You might resonate a little bit to this because you're a bit of a runner. But I put myself in the start. You've seen.
I'm a lifter too, bro. What are you fucking talking about, man?
Yeah. I know, but this one's more, I think, relatable to running. Yeah. But I still use that same mindset and that same thought process, and that actually pops up into my head before my lifts. And that's I kind of got the mindset from what's the movie called? Mark Wahlberg, Lone Survivor. So basically, these blokes are falling off cliffs, getting fucking shot at from every which angle, and if they stop running, they die. They literally die. Bullets are flying everywhere. If you stop, you're dead. That's it. So I use that when I'm running, I'm like, fuck, you get to that point where you're like, oh, I got to stop. And everyone thinks like, oh, you're super fit, you're super strong, like you're a coach, like, you don't have those thoughts of wanting to stop. Like, fuck, mate, yes, I do. All the time. Like 200 meters into my run, I'm already thinking I want to stop. People think that it pops into my mind, but I push through it. Like, I'm just like, nah, fuck yeah, I'm getting this done. And that's one that I use. Like, you stop, you die, or like that type of like mindset. And yeah, it can seem hard to kind of like articulate, but dark moments, tough moments, very tough times. I bring that energy up and back out. Music, get something that just makes me angry and then just convince myself that I can do the lift.
It's interesting. I almost envisage something happening to someone I care about if I don't lift the weight. It sounds really
100%.
But like, so I love my sister so much, and I'm like, if I don't fucking lift this weight, it's going down on her or something like. Yeah, some
this is funny.
Fucked up weird thought goes into my head, and I'm like, I have to do it.
Yeah, well, it's that thought, and it's so funny you say that because I used to have this same kind of concept with my best mate Kipper, and he would. He's exactly like me, crazy. Like I'd slap him on the back like 100 times really hard, like get super juiced, yeah. But we'd be training, and I remember especially like dumbbell chest press. He's there and he's like getting in the mindset. He's down, he's real dark. He's like dumbbells are on his quads, and he's like, and he's breathing. And I'll just tap him. I'll tap him on like the trap, and I'll drop in his ear, and I'm in his ear. And I'm like, or even when he's laying down, and I'll just say, so for instance, his ex, well at the time, his girlfriend used to call her Beba. And I'll be like, Beba's hanging off a cliff. You're holding her with one arm. I go, you can't fucking drop her. Are you going to drop her? Is she going to die? You're going to let her die? You're going to fucking let her die? Give me another one. Give me another one. You can't. You got to keep going. You got to keep pushing. If you let go, she's fucking dead, Kip. She's dead. She's dead. And he's just, and he's just fucking hammering out rep after rep after rep, just trying to get into that psyche. So exact same thing as what you just said. That's funny you say that, because that's now another person that I've heard utilize that as a tactic in order to be able to like lift.
Well, because I personally don't have a lot of dark moments, right?
Yeah.
Not growing up at least. So
Yeah.
for me, I used to listen to a lot of metal when I was like in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So Slipknot, Slayer,
I would
Metallica,
not.
and it was just a product of my environment.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah.
went to a high school that was a very artsy school. Everyone played a guitar or drums or something.
All those surfer
And I
boys,
was
huh?
fucking doing laps around the oval and trying to play
Yeah.
footy and cricket. They're like, who the hell is this bloke?
Yeah.
But they all listened to heavy metal. So I actually, Chop Suey was like one of the first songs that I listened to by Slipknot that I was like, shit, this is G'ing me up. And back then I used to love Linkin Park.
Yeah,
so
Linkin Park.
my first two albums I bought besides, actually no, they weren't. My first two albums were like NSYNC and fucking Backstreet Boys. But anyways, after
Let's be honest though, Backstreet Boys is a vibe.
they were vibes.
And NSYNC,
Yeah.
to a point.
But after that was Linkin Park, Meteora, and Hybrid Theory. They were the two albums, and I could listen to that, and that put me into a place that was just like maximum anger.
Yeah.
And it helped me. It helped me train when I was trying to push something super heavy. It wasn't good for me if I was doing a long run because I couldn't manage my heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
But it was great to be able to push me to a limit. For you, you say you go to a dark moment.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Give you a dark moment?
Well, if you're comfortable.
Yeah. It's so one moment in particular. I remember I was playing soccer. I think it was like under 15s, under 16s. So obviously testosterone starting to fly around a fair bit at that point.
You're Greek Orthodox, mate. You had that shit flying at 10 years of age, mate. Fucking hair's growing on your back from
age of 9. Nah, so I mean, like, under 15s, we're playing Bulleen, at Bulleen, and the linesman was one of, obviously you had parents do the lines back then, and I remember one kid's dad was running our line, and he kept flagging me offside. Now, normally it would be the other way around. I think normally your own team, like representative, calls you offside. But yeah, and he kept flagging me offside. And I remember my dad was standing behind the fence, like where the linesman was one point. And like, it was just getting to a joke. I'm looking at the ref. I'm like, man, like literally every run I make, he's flagging me offside. And my dad's like, linesman, like, stop calling offside. I can't quite remember what he said. He's like, stop flagging him offside, play the game fair, let the boys play. And the bloke turns around to my dad and said something to my dad. I can't even recall what he had said to my dad. And he's like standing right up in front of the fence where my dad is, and he just goes whack and headbutts my dad, right? And now his glasses fell off his head. My dad's being my dad. There's a lot of kids, women, family around, right? He's just like, okay, like if you're gonna be like that, step off the field and we can go to the car park.
Yeah.
And we can have a chat. And he's just like, I don't know, this bloke was just being like full macho, like just, I can't even remember what he's saying. But the minute I saw him headbutt my dad, I started running towards him, literally fly kicking him. And as I'm jumping up to kick him, I just get tackled mid-air by like 2 of the players on my team, like literally in mid-air, just fucking bang. And then it was just stacks on. I remember like half the team sitting on me, and I'm like, if you don't all get up, I'm going to fucking annihilate all of you. Like, get off me. This bloke just headbutted my dad. And emotion, like I was angry. I went into like defensive protective mode. Like, that's my dad. Not that my dad, like I'm 15 years old. My old man's going to be able to look after himself. Probably a little bit better at that point than me, yeah. But I'm just like, yeah, it triggered me. And that entire game, his son was playing and his son was a defender. And I told him, I go, you fucking come anywhere near me. And I just kept snapping him. Every time I'd run up, every time he'd get the ball, I'd go in for a challenge, and like good challenges. I would never do anything. I wasn't doing anything dirty, but he got so scared that every time he got the ball that he asked his coach to sub him, to take him off. He didn't want to be on the field anymore. And the entire time I was just basically stalking that bench. I didn't know what to do. I had so much rage and anger and hurt and like emotion. Like I think I cried as well. Like I got a little bit teary-eyed from it happening. I was so mad. So that an abundance amount of energy that I felt there, every time I think of that scenario, just triggers me to feel that same feeling. So I use that to then go and do my lift. So that dark place, that's something that it is dark for me because it was a moment where I saw my dad get hit, assaulted, whatever you want to put it down to. And like being a kid, you know, that's not easy to see a family member get hurt like that, you know, unintentionally.
When you left that game,
mm-hmm.
how long did it take you to process what happened, and how long did you keep getting thoughts of anger for? Because, you know, something, let's say, happens to me and you hold on to it for a while, right? And you go, fuck, I can't get it out of my head. It's not going anywhere. And you're angry all the time, all the time.
Yeah.
And you carry that. Like, how long did you carry it for? What did you do to get over it?
Or
did you get over it?
Well, I guess not completely because I still go there. I still go to that. I get, you know, being an adult, understanding emotions a little bit better and you understanding like certain things that happen in life, especially being within fitness and sports and, you know, that whole life coaching, motivational coaching and the rest of it and emotions and how you can use them. You could say like to some degree I haven't because I use that still to this day, that as a dark moment to help trigger a reaction or an emotion out of myself. But I think we literally at the end of the game, like they literally parted the entire, like every team like had to, like the fans, it settled down quite quickly, to be honest. Like the ref grabbed the linesman and sent him off and he had to leave the premises, I think. And my dad was like trying to run to the premises and I'm like, no, you're not going. I'm like, oh yeah, I was just like, I think we got into the change rooms. Me and one of the other players in my team was a bit of a rat bag. And I remember as we were trying to walk through the tunnel, he's like kicking the fence, going, fucking meet us outside, kicking the fence to the guy because he was on the other side of the fence when we're going through the tunnel. But we're going to the change rooms, got dressed. I reckon it took me the day to process it. The next day, it being 15, 16, like, you know, that, you know, the fighting, the in school, the bullying, the harassment and things like that. It's kind of like not second nature. You're dealing with it a lot more than like what I'd say like now as an adult. You know, so I think, you know, that whole point was just understanding. Well, now it's like understanding how I felt about it. Then I wasn't thinking about how I felt about it. I was just thinking about it, felt it, and then something else distracted me and just took my mindset kind of off of it. I don't think I shrugged it for a bit though. Like it would pop back up in my head like quite frequently. And just like that rage and anger and that willing to or need to protect. Yeah. So tough question. I actually don't even know how to answer that. But yeah, mate. I can't quite recall exactly how long it took me to get over it, to shake it off and what processes I used to shake it off. But I mean, obviously other family being there, like my sister and my mum and everyone just being like, just, you know, chill out. It's okay. It's fine. It happens. And, you know, mum being like to me, dad's been in like plenty of scuffs along the time. Don't you worry about that. We've been in nightclubs. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen bouncers try and rip him off a man, you know, that tried to grab me, you know, and assault me, type, you know, grab me in the ass and shit like that. And dad went nuts and snapped and nearly killed the guy. And, you know, this stories, I'm like, all right, cool. But sometimes it's like, yeah, I'm just like, it was good for me to actually hear that from mum because like it's like, okay, now dad can handle himself, he can protect himself. I don't need to. She's like, it's okay. He's fine from that. You don't need to stress.
It's funny how we forget that, you know, especially our folks, they've gone through a whole lifetime before they even had us.
Yeah.
You know, and most of us kids don't even know what happened before they had us.
Yeah.
In depth, right?
Yeah.
What kind of person they were before they had kids. How did your dad handle it? And how did he speak to you? And, you know, what was that situation like?
Yeah, he did. Really well. Like, really well considering, like, you know me. So you can imagine what I'm like. My dad's quite similar. You know, they say apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But nah, he handled it very well. Like, very well. He can tend to have a temper. So I thought, oh, he's just going to fly off the radar now and it's all done. But he's just like, there was kids around and everyone was around. He's like, and one of my best mates who was playing with me, his dad was right next to him, next to my dad. And he's like, Steve, you okay? He's like, no. He's like, I'm fine. I'm okay. He's like, if you're going to behave like that, step off the field and we can go have a chat in a car park. In other words, if you want to throw down, I took that as if you want to throw down, let's do it away from where everybody is, in a nutshell. So I guess it was good that he didn't didn't retaliate. Yeah. It didn't retaliate. Let it go. We left. We went to the car, and as we walked to the car park, as we're trying to find a car, I'm looking at my dad and like where his eyes are darting. I'm looking around trying to find the guy, you know. But there wasn't anything like that. Dad walked straight up to the car. We got in the car, and yeah, it was kind of like I was like, "You're good." He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm good." He's like, "Are you sure? You look very, very mad and angry and the rest of it." And I'm always like, he's like, "It's okay." He's like, "Don't stress." He goes, "It's fine. I'm fine. And if I wanted to deal with it, I would have dealt with it." And I'm like, well, in my mind, I'm like, you did. Like, you dealt with it really well.
Have you then, since that day, had a moment where, you know, you look at the way that your dad handled things and you've gone, yeah, I'm gonna adopt the same thing?
Same thing? Yeah. That's probably one of the main times I've seen my dad be able to like stay reserved and keep his composure quite well in scenarios where things like that have happened. But I guess for me personally, doing martial arts from 12, you learn discipline. And like, yeah, there were moments where, you know, we got in the scraps out on the street, but nothing bad, nothing that boys don't normally go through growing up. I'm saying that here, nothing bad, because there's plenty that did go bad. We'll save that for another time.
Oh man, you can say whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, mate. Oh, fuck, growing up in Dandenong, bro, trust me.
Yeah.
There's been some fucking crazy shit happen at parties, mate. Stabbings, fucking, carloads of people coming down, this, that, and the other. So you see it all, but like nothing has ever made me feel like, or even getting pushed or shoved, I've been okay. Like I'm all right. I just think to myself, in my mind, if we were to be in an environment, like if someone's trying to provoke me or to provoke someone I know, like that protective instinct's there, but it's like a settle, chill, keep it reserved. Just because I know what it's like to be punched and kicked, like I do it for sport. Do you know what I mean? So people, like nothing good comes of it unless you are doing it in like that manner where you're training and it's in the gym and you're sparring and things like that. Yeah, nothing ever good comes of it out on the street. Like you end up with broken fingers, broken hands, people end up hurt. It's a lose-lose. So knowing that and knowing it's a lose-lose, like it's always good to be able to like stay composed. Seeing dad react like that, I guess, does help. I won't necessarily say like that one moment influenced me to make sure that I'm always, trying to do the right thing and have that clarity in my thought process in any situation and scenario, because it's hard because you've got so many emotions that are so strong. Doesn't matter how clear you are, how much clarity or composure you think you have. I'm sure you've seen red and you hit red. When you hit red and you hit limiter, mate, it's, yeah, you need a minute. You need to be taken away from that scenario altogether.
And that comes down to having your boys with you and being able to pull you aside, like your mates grabbed you in midair when you're about to fly kick.
Yeah.
That in itself is something. When you got a good group of boys, they don't egg you on.
That's right.
They go, exactly what you said, it's a lose-lose.
It's a lose-lose.
Like your ego might need to get checked, but that's okay.
But yeah.
That's okay.
100%. I remember one time in particular, I was with Nathan, Dowie, and City, one of his other mates. And this bloke's walking, we're at Crown, and there's 4 of us, we're guys. And we're walking, and this bloke's with his missus holding her hand, and he literally just shoulder charges Dowie. Like, when I mean shoulder charge Dowie, like, shoulder charged him hard. Boom.
For clarity, Dowie is like the loveliest guy.
Yeah.
Like the genuine. Like
yeah.
everyone's got that really super lovely guy.
Yeah, that's
just like
Dowie.
wouldn't hurt a fucking
that's
fly.
Dowie, yeah,
That
right.
is legit him, yeah.
He's like, mate. He is like he's grounding. He's so composed, so lovely. Like there's that testosterone thing is not like his vibe. Like being out in a pub. Oh, don't get me wrong. Dowie can be like, oh mate, like zip it, like button your lip. Like if someone's flying off and we're drinking a couple of beers, watching a footy, especially if Collingwood's playing. But yeah, man, and he's just full shoulder charged him. And then we've gone, and Dowie's like, oh, I can't even remember. It's just kicked off. And he's going off at Dowie, and I'm like, mate, I'm like, settle down. I'm like, you're with a woman, you're holding a lady's hand, and you're starting 4 guys. Are you okay? Like, are you normal? I don't care if you're fucking Van Damme or Bruce Lee. Mate, there's 4 guys, and you're holding a lady's hand. Bad way. You're the one that's like provoking the fight. I was just like, mate, you need check it. Like, calm down. I'm like, you're still holding your missus's hand. You're yelling at him. I'm like, just calm down. And he starts trying to like go, man, going out. But before, like, I just started saying that, Nathan straight away just turns and grabs me. Like, I hadn't even said a word. So I had said all of that to the guy. I'm like, mate, you're holding your missus's hand. It's like, just like, let it go. There's 4 guys. I'm like, this is silly. Nathan straight away, the minute he went boof and he shoulder charged Dowie, Dowie turns around and kicks off at him, and the bloke starts kicking off. Nathan just turns around and just grabs me immediately. Just under the assumption of obviously knowing how like protective or passionate or something happens, I'm always going to be like in front of my mates at all costs. I put everyone behind me at all costs in any situation like that. And they just grabbed me thinking like, oh, fuck, how's Nick going to react? Is Nick just going to fucking whack this guy and send him into another dimension? But nah, like I'm always the one that's like, cool it, which is funny enough because other people's perceptions are really interesting to see.
Well, we see you train, we see you kick the bag, and we're like, okay, I don't want to really
Oh, mate, and I'm nothing
that.
special compared to people out there.
Oh, 100%.
Me.
But for someone that doesn't really engage in combat, well, I definitely don't anymore, like... but you have a little appreciation.
Yeah.
You go, yeah, I'm not interested. But I want to ask you a question. Let's say that role was reversed.
Yeah.
You're holding the lady's hand.
Yeah.
And one of 4 boys shoulder charge you. What do you do?
What do I do?
What do you do? So you're a crown.
Yeah.
You got, the girl that you're dating, let's say, in your hand. And you've got 4 spoons.
Her safety is my number 1 priority. The 4 people aren't necessarily an issue for me. I'm not gonna. I wouldn't hesitate to go at it, but once again, no need to. If I'm putting myself in a situation where I'm looking at someone, I'm like, okay, let's go in the ring. Up in my head, I'm like, if we're in a ring right now and it's just you and me, you don't have any of your mates, you don't have any support, you don't have any friends, you don't have anyone there, you have no one when you get locked in a cage, right? Put yourself in that situation, or sparring, for instance, like, it's you and that one person, and there's only one person that can really come in and stop that person from beating the shit out of you. It's a different story. Knowing my experience being, with all the sparring I've done and training I've done, I don't really care about going in. Like, I already think I've won this fight. I already know what's going to happen. I already know what's going to happen. So her safety is my number 1 priority. My safety is my number 1 priority. And making sure I don't get in trouble for doing something, even to protect myself and her. So it's just grab her hand and just keep walking and ignore it.
Can I tell you, that is such a fucking good answer, because... some guys think that, and some guys will never get in that scenario ever, but it's hard when you're with, let's say, someone that you really like, and either A bloke's having a dig at you, verbally, which I think is even harder than physically, because you're like,
just shut up, mate.
shut up. Like, you know, and you don't want to show that over aggressive side, because it shows that you haven't got composure when shit hits the fan. But also you don't want to show that you're a little bitch.
Exactly.
You know, and it's hard because you're like,
Takes a bigger man to walk away.
it takes a
and
bigger man.
Everyone knows that.
And everyone knows that. And you're like, I hope she gets it. And if she doesn't get it, she's not the
She's
right
not the
fucking
right,
chick.
exactly the right chick.
She's actually not.
Nah.
You know, and that's one thing that you just got to make sure that you're okay with in that scenario. You talk about being protective. I know your family dynamic. Do you want to give me do you want to give us an insight of what that is? And I know you have a really close relationship with women in your life.
Yeah.
As I do.
Yep.
And what kind of role does that play in your response just then? Because
it's
such a, you know, mature response.
Growing up, obviously, I don't want to say not small family, because massive extended family, but just mum, dad, and sister, older sister, Maria. So, growing up, mum and dad got divorced at 5. So it's hard. Like, especially with my dynamic, I can't really talk about a lot of other divorced families. I can relate to a lot of other kids that come from a divorced family in so many manners, but my parents are the most awkward divorced relationship you'll ever meet in your life. It's like they're married, but they're divorced. Like, I don't get it. Like, I still don't get it. I still haven't been able to figure it out, mate. And I'm fucking 33 now. Look, now, when we got a little bit older, I guess everything changed, and the relationship that mum and dad had, they always had a good relationship when it came to us. Now they've got their own relationship as well. Back that, you know, we're all adults, and, you know, but growing up with, I'd say, a single mum, with mum and with Maria, obviously there's a very, like you mentioned, very female dominant. I don't even know if I can say female, mate. Pronouns, this, that, and the other with this day and age.
Yeah,
but
okay.
Growing up with two women, right? It changes you a lot. I have to thank mum for a lot, and my sister. Mum was very much good in the sense that this is what it takes to be a man. This is how a man needs to behave. And Maria was also good in that manner of, this is how you treat women as well. And I guess it was really good to help mold me into who I am. That protective instinct, I guess, I think I've just naturally always had. But obviously a big influence on that is having mum and Maria in the house. Like, dad's there. Like, dad was always there. Weekends, spent plenty of time at dad's house. So it's not like I never got to see dad and it was just solely with mum. But we lived with mum. There was long periods of time where I actually didn't get to see dad at all. He'd go back to Adelaide to work as well, because I was born in Adelaide. We moved back here when I was 8. So mum's from here, from Melbourne, and her family's here. So she wanted to move back with her family. So dad came over, obviously. And yeah, so sometimes he used to go back and do some jobs there and that. But yeah, growing up, trying to learn how to be a man on your own is quite tough. I guess you have to figure that out quite quickly. It brings maturity and responsibility early on. Although you have that guidance there as well from mum. So it's hard. There was times where you're trying to learn how to be a man, and I didn't necessarily have dad right there in that minute to be able to ask that question, or, what's going through my head. And then sometimes that might not continue on in my thought process when I am around dad to be able to ask him that, So, but yeah, I'd say mum done a pretty good job. She's done a pretty good job. I reckon I owe her everything. I'm a mama's boy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can get the vibe, but yeah. So she really helped, I guess, kind of create me as a person in a way of how I go about behaving out in public. Especially with women, when women are involved.
Talk to me about that. Talk to me, because there are so many men that don't know how to be around a woman.
Yeah.
They'll see things on social media. They'll see things from their friends or their current group of friends in their environment. Let's talk about how you would want to, or what you got taught when it came to treating women.
Yep.
And by the way, this doesn't need to be the girl that you're going out with. It can just be the girl at work. It could be the girl
anyone.
at home.
first things first, they've got a father. They've got a father. They may have a father. Father, brother. So put yourself in their shoes on how they would feel. How would you feel if someone treated your sister bad? I'm like, I would fucking smash the shit out of them. You know, someone treated my sister's ex-boyfriend broke up with her. Like, she only had one boyfriend, then she got married, and her boyfriend broke up with her, made her cry. I come back home after like football training or something like that. Maria's crying. I'm like, what happened? And mum's like, I can't remember his name. Thingy broke up with Maria, and I was like, yeah, cool. Walked out. Walked out, started to make my way towards his house. And my uncle's like driving down the street. He's like, where you going? And I'm like, I'm just going to go smash his head in. And he's like, why? He's like, you're going to go to your sister's ex-boyfriend's house now, because his brother was getting lippy on the phone to my sister. And he's just yelling at her. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to go and smash his head. And my uncle's like, get back in the fucking house, you idiot. Like, what are you doing, you twat? But I don't even know why I started that story, to be honest. Like, trying to circle back here now in my head. But
no, because it's about lessons, right?
And brother. Like, how would you feel if that was someone's sister? Like, if that was your sister, you know, someone treated your sister like that, and I'm like, oh man, yeah, I'd smash their head in. But yeah, and that's how I go about treating. Like, one way I go about treating other women is they do have family. How would you make that family feel? Like, for instance, with a girl, like if it's dating, but in the sense of the person themselves, like about, you know, with women, and like, you know, respect, always respect, be a gentleman, little things like that, they are important, I guess. And yeah, you get to learn all the things that men had done to mum, kind of in a way, by the way she kind of would not necessarily teach me. Well, yeah, teach me all these life lessons and how to behave and conduct myself. But yeah, it's important. Like, there's little things, even like, you know, just understanding living with a woman. Like, it's different to live with a woman. Like, for instance, they've got a premenstrual cycle. You know, there's little things like, I remember, like, I was like 8 to 10 years old, and Mum Maria would be like, oh, you need to go and get me something from the bathroom. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I'd go and, you know, grab it and give it to them. So you learn about things like that as well at an earlier age, and just getting a good gauge of like how men do treat women too, based on their relationships. Like, obviously Mum went on dates and had guys. I met a few guys. Mum obviously got engaged at one point, you know, and there were men that came into the house and how they treated Mum, or how Mum would see things. And same thing with Maria as well. Yeah, so I guess I get to see all of that, and I'm privy to all of that, and that helped me kind of gauge the type, like, what is right, what is wrong in certain scenarios. You know what I mean? But just, mate, respect, be a gentleman, be understanding. I'm not going to sit here and say like I know everything there is to know about women and how to treat women and how to behave around women, because I don't. Fucking far from it. But I guess out of all my mates, like growing up, I know mates would wolf whistle to girls, like when we're driving down Chapel Street, and I'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like, are you serious? Like, don't do that. Get out of my car. Like, that'd piss me off. I used to hate stuff like that. So I think things like that, like respect, I would never go and do something like that. Walking down a street, I would always like 50-50 my shoulder for everybody. But for a woman, I will completely shift my body weight out of the way. Just gentlemanly, like, I don't know what the right word is.
Traits.
Traits, yeah. Gentlemanly, like traits.
They're very masculine traits. They're very, you know, they're misunderstood in this current age.
Yeah, most definitely.
Because you have this big movement around, you know, well, we at least see it on social media, being in our mid-30s or early 30s. I don't know why I just said mid. I just stitched myself
so
up.
Hold that for a couple of years there, mate.
Jesus. But you see all these things on social media where, and you know, you only get fed what you see on based off what you like and all the rest of it. But some debates on like women going, I don't need the door held open for me, or I can make my own.
The independence thing.
That independence thing, and you're like, fuck, chivalry is important too.
It is.
And then I think that old school way of like both of our mums, the way that we got brought up was that in those days, we're kids that are very protective of our, parents or maybe mums in particular here, but you could see the way that men treated women differently and you didn't want to be like that.
No, not at all.
You're like, that doesn't sit well with me.
I'd go out with my mum and I'd see like 40-year-old men behave like absolute fucking idiots and like 10-year-olds. And I'm like, that is bad. Like, that is bad. Like, when my mum's telling a grown man that her son knows how to treat women, speak to women, and knows how to conduct himself as a man, more than a man. Like, I mean, like, I'm like 18, 19, whatever. And like, men are having, trying to have a go at mum or have a pass at mum, we'll say. And she's just, the way they conduct themselves. And, mum's like, my son has more integrity and is more of a gentleman than you are, and you are fucking double his age. You should know better. It's just funny to see, like, well, not funny, but it's just sad to see, So I think trying to be a gentleman, trying to sustain that, all those traits is important, I think, for every young man. And like you said, the chivalry, is dead. And it's hard because, on one hand, you got women that are wanting that chivalry. They say like, oh, we want that stuff. And then on the flip side, they're like, oh, but I'm independent and I can open my own door and I can pay my own bills and do all this, do that. Yeah, you can pay all your bills. You can open your door. But I guess without trying to dive into a political conversation here about it, but I feel like they do want both. It's just finding balance of how to be a gentleman, how to act like a gentleman, like open a door or pull the chair out for them, things like that. They're gonna love, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's important. Like you said, chivalry is dead. It shouldn't be.
And it doesn't mean you have to be like Mr. Nice Guy for everything.
No.
Because you see the other extreme where the guy's like always like head over heels doing everything for, the girl that he's seeing, but he hasn't got that little bit of, mystery about him or aloofness about him or just like independence that he's got his own shit.
Yeah, for
sure. And you still want to be driven in your own right. But, when it comes down to
curiosity is important.
Yeah, but when you're looking after someone or you're going on a first date or a second date, and dating's a completely different topic, which we won't get into. But
you know all about that one.
I'll hold back on that one.
Yeah.
But that for me is super interesting, because when I was growing up, man, I was like, fuck, why don't girls like me at all? Like, I was so like what about me? Like, I'd be such a nice boyfriend to do everything right, and I found out that for me, I was almost
too nice.
Yeah. And there is a balance.
And then there's that saying that the whole, what is it, like I heard it yesterday and it made me cringe. The treat him mean, keep him keen. I was just like, lads, that is fucking terrible. We can't use that anymore. But to some degree, man, there's this lady that's super intelligent, super smart. I can't remember her name for the life of me, but she's on a lot of podcasts. She's on the Diary of a CEO, and she basically talks about like the psyche, and I think she's a psychologist, and she basically starts talking about that toxicity about like how some girls like are attracted to it and things like that. Like they always refer back to that toxic guy, rather than like if there's a nice guy in front of them, they don't end up wanting that guy because it's not what they're used to. It's not what they're like their upbringing or whatever the case may be. Role models, I don't even know. I can't remember. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a specialist like she is, but she says it and explains it really, really well. And it's funny because you can see it though. Like when you hear it, you can actually see it. Like you can see like how girls can tend to go for that toxicness, what's known as toxicness now, but in a sense, like that guy that's got that mystery, that won't reply back, that, makes them chase a little bit and play the game, but girls don't want to play the game or don't want games. And I can't be asked. There's just way too much to read into all of that shit. So I'm just me. I'm going to message how I message. I'm going to send you a lengthy message because I'm involved in the conversation. If I get a couple of word replies back, the conversation's dead. I feel like I'm putting in too much effort and you're not reciprocating that. Then to me, that's the end of that. But yeah, it's hard balance. is very hard balance.
I can imagine after this podcast, all of a sudden your DMs are just going to start to like blow up. They're like, who is this guy? I've never met him before. You're like,
God, I hope they don't.
But it's one of those things as well where also dating is a bit of a dance.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to have fun with it.
Yeah.
You got to play. It's not just like, you know, this is the set rules all the time. You got to be able to and fro a little bit, have a bit of fun.
I think it's important to be you. Like, you got to be you and you got to do you. I think doing you, like in a sense of like, you got to do you. Like, man, I'll do me. Like, I'll focus on work and I'll focus on my career and all the goals and things that I want to do, or like little relationship goals that I want to work on. Like, you know, being able to spend more time with family, go and watch the kids play soccer, my sister's kids play soccer and things like that on the weekends. I make them like, almost make them priority. And then you start talking to someone, it's like, then that can come into play surrounding what's happening in my life. And like you said, you play, you dabble, you're in and you're out, you know, go on a date or whatever the case may be. And yeah, I guess, yeah, you just got to keep playing. Is just not quite the word I want to use, but
it's dancing
and evolving, letting it evolve. And if it evolves, it evolves. If it doesn't evolve, then it goes stale or stagnant. That's also okay. Because, you know, they might be seeing someone else as well that they like their attention, but they want to get to know you. And then, you know, it's like, then conversation starts with you, but, you know.
It's interesting you said being yourself. I've never completely agreed with that. And I'll explain to you why. So when I was younger and I was being myself, it served as a notice for me that I wasn't doing something right.
Yep.
And you know, you go on a few dates here and there and none of them sort of move forward and you're like, maybe it is a little bit me.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and what I started to realize was I was so responsive, so engaged, so quick that the person on the receiving end is probably going, this is too much,
yeah,
right?
For sure.
And maybe he hasn't got anything better to do or is as driven. And so you have to learn and adapt from that. And you might have to be a different version of yourself when you start trying to date.
Oh, of course.
Because you're not going to be able to then, you know, go on a second date.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to bring that other side out of you. So, I don't know. For me, for the guys that are shy or maybe don't have that bit of banter or prick about them or, you know, they don't look a certain way.
Bad boyish type of
vibe, whatever it is, I think it is important to have a good group of mates that maybe can give you a little bit of unsolicited advice, but still advice nevertheless. But you know, but also realizing that you know, sometimes it is okay to put on a different hat when you go on a date. It's similar to going into you don't like to go dating as an interview, but let's say you go to an interview and you fucking fail 4 times of getting the job. You go, I'm just being me.
Yeah. You change things up.
And you come in and you're like, guys, how you doing? I'm Steve. Nice to meet you. How are you? Shake all their hands. And normally you'd be sitting down there and just going, hi.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's just evolving though, as you as well. Like, there's that also on the flip side, you got like that saying of there's that, you know, then they're not right for you. If they're thinking that you're too much, then they're not right for you. But yes, you might be too much at the same time, but you're going to evolve and you're going to understand that. And then you'll be like, okay, I'm not changing being me, but I'm going to be me at a little bit more of a slower process to also, I don't know, maybe even it might be necessarily to protect you because you're like, I don't want to continuously feel like I'm getting rejected. So, you know, you might hold off a little bit on that. You know, I'm going to be over invested. And it's hard because you think, do they want me to message? Do they want my attention? Do they not want my attention? How much of my attention do I give them? And this is a fucking game. And this is what I mean by it does my stack in. And that's why if I'm thinking of you to message you, I'm going to message you and I'm going to say that. I'm going to let you know, hey, I was thinking of you, and message them. You know, I'm not going to be like, oh, I messaged them like yesterday or I messaged them this morning. I'm not going to message them at lunchtime. You know, yeah, you can get a gauge on, once again, this is just me personally, you can get a gauge on, you know, if you are being full on. And like, but I was the same, mate, growing up, same thing. You're a nice dude, you're a nice kid, or you're cute, or you're sweet, and you're like, oh, fuck off. Call me handsome, call me like, you know, sexy, call me anything. Give me someone else, man, come on. But
Don't call me
Don't call me
nice.
cute or cutie. I got called cutie the other day. I was just like, mate, I'm fucking 33. What part of me is fucking cute? Please explain. I was just like, I'm not even responding to this. So, yeah, I guess you learn. I think from those experiences, you learn, okay, don't be too full on with a girl. And just communication. I think communication is super important. Understanding communication, being able to communicate, you know, depending on the level of where you're at with that chick. If it's like you haven't even gone on a first date, yeah, don't be too full on. Organize, set a date. Make sure, like, you know, I feel like be assured of yourself. Be like, hey, I want to take you out. Bang. This is funny. I'm giving all this advice. I probably need to take it and write these notes down and give them to myself, to be honest. But, you know, bang, I want to take you out here. Okay, yeah, amazing. Friday sounds good. Good, awesome. Leave it. Let it be. You know, do you give it time? How long till you message back again?
20 minutes ago, I was like, we're not going to talk about dating because we could literally, like, between the both of us, have plenty of stories to share.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop it there and I'm going to just ask you and digress a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
On that conversation. I think a lot of the guys listening would really value a little bit of input in terms of, and maybe the women that are listening as well, in terms of how women feel in the gym when you're training as a dude. Yep. Because I know you train women and men. You've done group classes and PT. And for guys that are going into the gym, you know, sometimes we forget how we are when we're in the presence of, you know, other women training. Do you ever get any feedback from the clients that you train around how they feel or how they sort of would wish, you know, they could go to a gym and feel comfortable in the gym?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think I did a story about this, about guys being gym creeps, and it's on Instagram, a little Instagram reel about it. But to me, with everything, there's like a flip side. There's always like on one side of the fence. You can't be one side of the fence. There's always like both sides. So, but definitely from that safety perspective, and obviously it's happened a lot. Yeah, there is a lot of women that don't feel comfortable going into gym spaces, because of the way that, you know, guys can behave and react. And it's hard because it's annoying to see men get categorized as a whole for how some behave. Now, that some might be a greater percentage than, you know, most men want to admit. But I think just, yeah, for me personally, like, you've got to respect them. They're coming in to do the exact same thing as what you are. They're trying to get fit. Do you? Why are you at the gym? You shouldn't be at the gym to stare at birds. Like, that's just, you're not there doing the right thing. Go to the gym. You're going there to look after your fitness, your health, your wellness. So make that your number one priority. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like, okay, you know, you might have a glamour or a hottie or whatever you want, whatever terminology you want to use.
I was about to say the second biggest motivator for you to push some weight may not be anger, but it might be that super hot chick in the gym that's like, God, I hope she's looking at this because this is my first rep. And, you know, it was funny the other day I was supersetting.
Yeah.
And then I was drop setting. Oh, and I was drop setting my weight. And then my last weight was like 40 kilos on the squat or something. And I'm moving it like I'm struggling. My legs are quivering. And this girl walks behind me and she's just waiting to use a squat rack. And I'm like,
straight away, your ego wants to put back plates on the back. You just like put plates back on.
I couldn't do it. My legs were shaking, man. I did all the weight earlier. Like, where the fuck were you earlier? I'm not like, she's like, I could squat more than this guy.
Oh, man. Yeah, for sure. I don't personally like, I don't want to lie. Like, like you get a bit more of a G up when there's environment and atmosphere. For me, it's environment and atmosphere. Hot birds, no hot birds, it makes no difference for me because I'm so in tune with my goal, my objective, with my weight that if you ever do watch me do like heavy lifts, you might see this on social media, or if you have ever come into a gym where I've trained at, I'm hat down, I have my headphones in because my mindset's also not in the most greatest space. I'm trying to put my mindset in, like I said, that sometimes that dark place, and it's like I'm trying to go into a dark place. A pretty girl walking past that's not going to change anything for me. So, but referring back to how to go about being in an environment with women and making them feel comfortable. Yeah, we need to be a little bit more understanding, and men need to do better and try better. Okay, yeah, okay. There's nothing wrong with having a little look. I get that from both sides. Women looking at men, men looking at women, and all the other pronouns looking at each other. You got to respect the person. You got to respect the person and what they're not wants and, well, yeah, maybe they're wants, but they may not, want a lot of attention. They might be there just wanting to do their thing. You got to understand that. You got to appreciate and respect that. You can obviously argue cases where there are some women that go into a gym and they're seeking the attention, and girls that are like, oh, no, not really. I should be comfortable in what I'm wearing, and I'm allowed to go in wearing the most shortest shorts and the most smallest crop top and sports bra. Like, yeah, you are. You're allowed to wear whatever you want, but don't complain that guys are staring if you're walking in with that, because that's not necessarily normal. Like, you can't walk in with half an arse cheek popping out of your shorts. Like, I'm sorry. Have also a little bit of respect for guys, and men are men, and if they're going to behave like men, and you're complaining that they behave like that, why don't you also maybe change a little bit of the circumstance, like, or that narrative or whatever term. Like, I'm not saying it. I'm not blaming them, so to speak, at all, and I'm not saying that they need to, and women shouldn't need to, but to some degree, hold some responsibility if people are going to be looking at you. If you're wearing nothing, have a little bit of responsibility there too, because they might not be just staring at you going, oh my God. Like, they might be looking going, oh wow, that is not a lot of clothes at all.
And
like,
it's generally,
nothing,
it's generally like, that doesn't look right.
Yeah, like
if it doesn't look right, it's like, oh, what is she thinking today?
Yeah,
like,
or what is she, that's a judgment call as well. Like, if you're looking at someone and you're like, oh, in the sense of like, oh, why would she wear that? Like, she does not have the body for that. Or why would you, confidence is key. If she's got the confidence to wear it, mate, wear it, own it, get it, girl. I love that shit. Like, pump their tires up, pump your tires up, like, and fucking crush it, like, slay. But to some degree, like I said, you got to, like, I think women need to be a little bit accountable for what they're wearing as well in the gym space, so they don't necessarily get creeped on if they're not wanting to get creeped on.
Same as a man wearing, just tights and no shorts and got the squash banana going on.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, people like will look
exactly.
and then they'll be like,
exactly. Exactly. So social setting. You got to dress according to where you are. Like, you got to be comfortable, understand that, yes, people get hot, understand that too. But comfortable, got to make everyone feel comfortable. Women need to be comfortable when they're training, and we've just got to start to learn how to obviously coach that, or influence that natural behavior. Like I said, go in and do you. Don't worry about what other people are doing. You're there for something bigger, and that is your fitness, health, and wellness. That should be your number one goal when you're going into a gym. And yeah, I guess as well, like, even for women, I've got a lot of clients that have spoken to me about feeling uncomfortable going into a gym, and I just tell them I might put indicators on. That's what I do. Put indicators on. Don't worry about what's happening around you. Just put indicators on. Block out the noise. Block out the noise. Do you. Do you. For whatever purpose that you think people are looking at you. If they're looking at you because you don't know what you're doing. This is even for one of my male clients, a couple of my male clients. They don't want to go into the gym and train because they think that, like, all the staunch dudes are looking at them going, what the fuck are you doing, mate? It's like, nah, a lot of them, people don't necessarily care. Like, yeah, you might get a couple of judgment looks and judgment calls, but like, that's life. Like, it happens like 24/7. You know what I mean? So I try not to judge at any point. But in that scenario, like, I know some guys don't feel comfortable going into the gym with weights. Women might not feel comfortable because people are like, judging what they're doing, might be judging what they're wearing, might be judging their appearance. Just, I think, basically, don't judge unless you want to be judged, I feel. And who are you to judge? Mum always told me.
We'll see if we can find that quote for you after, and
maybe.
We'll put it in. Because
give her a call.
It is one of those things that, when you learn those lessons, like you said, and you want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in that environment, but also you're human and your eyes do wander here and there. Like,
of course.
We're not pretending. That's here. Right. Like, I don't want to bullshit.
Yeah, no bullshit.
At the same token, there are guys that you see that, You know, if that was my sister in the gym, I'm like, bro, you need to like
chill out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final thing I wanted to discuss, mindset, and you talk about that, and to get into the mindset of training. For the people out there that are too shy to go into a gym.
Yep.
And there's plenty of guys that are too shy to go into a gym.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they haven't trained in ages and they need to get their ass back into the gear. What do you recommend for those, let's say, guys? What are your sort of, you know, top mindset tips or things that you even do when you've had a injury and you've been out for ages? What do you advise on that?
Mindset's key. I think one of the biggest things is habits, routine and habits. You want to try to create routine and habit. If you haven't been going and doing something, like if you haven't been going and training, you want to get that becoming a habit prior to looking at it in the sense of like pushing to get results and things like that, because that in itself is a result. So you haven't been going somewhere. How do you go about getting back in there? So if you don't like big crowds, don't go to a gym where there's lots of people. Find an alternative space where the member base is maybe a little bit smaller, something like that. If that's like whatever the purpose is, whatever your deterrent has been, if it's injury, see a physio, do a good rehab plan, get back into the gym, start training. Just start. Just go. Don't try and find a next week or on a Monday or whatever. Go in, sign up get a membership and just start. There's a lot of great information out there on social media. So much to be able to help you. Get a journal, write it in there. If you don't know what you're doing with training, contact a coach or have a look. Like I said, online, there's a lot of information out that is super beneficial and can really help someone. And I think you want to set, positive habits. Try to create a routine for yourself in going into the gym. And I think they're your number one priorities prior to looking at, you know, any other goal set that you have, like putting on muscle mass, or, you know, whatever your goal is, losing weight. They should be your priorities, because I like to look at it from like a lifestyle perspective, and from a, obviously, you know, continuing on beyond that goal, you try to set, it's a lifestyle. Fitness is a lifestyle. So creating that habit and that those sort of behavioral traits and routine is super important. And we all know, like, it's I like to look at it from those perspectives, because we all know how good training is. Loads of people know they should train. People know they need to keep fit. People know they need to keep strong, but they just don't. So I think it's, once again, if you don't, so from I'll touch back on the motivational perspective. What's your reason why? For me, it's always about your reason why, my reason why, my goals. Why am I doing this? What am I trying to achieve? Like, what do I want out of it? So you set yourself goals. Set yourself big goals. I like to look at big goals. And then obviously you have lots of little goals that you achieve along the way. Now, I always have my strength program in there, because it gives me a target to hit and to reach or to sustain or to maintain. You know, sometimes training drops off, and then I do my program again and I try to get back up to where I was, how strong I was, or I try to better myself. I just keep trying to better myself. And it's not about lifting a heavier weight, so to speak, for me. It's about how strong can I be at any given moment of my life. Like, obviously I was told a little bit younger, like, you know, in the early days of coaching, men peak at 28 years old. Mate, I'm 33 and I'm lifting way more than what I was when I was 28. That's a load of horseshit. So just keep trying to better yourself. Keep trying to make yourself stronger at that age. How strong am I at 33? How strong can I be at 34? How strong can I be at 50? How strong can I be at 65? How strong? I might not be able to deadlift the same amount of weight, but how strong can I be at that point? So I use my strength training for that. So you need to have goals. Have those goals that you know you want to strive to achieve, whether it's weight loss, maybe lifting up a weight, maybe it's getting ready for someone's wedding or your wedding or whatever the case may be. Goals are great because they're the motivators. I also like, you know, little things that, you know, you want to change your circumstances. If I haven't gone to the gym for a little bit, you know, sometimes buying a new pair of shorts, training shorts or training sneakers might gym me up and get me in the gym. I know there's so many people are going to relate to this. Like, you buy a new kit, you're like, fresh kit, who dis? Let's go. I want everybody, you know, even with a haircut, you get a haircut and all of a sudden you're like this little bit of energy to want to go, you know, you're okay to go out in social settings. You're okay. But, you know, when the hair's not looking good, you're like, it's a hat, it's a hat.
What happened
and
today?
if I can't go yeah.
What happened today?
Exactly. Nick, bring me some wax. Like, if you, it's a hat scenario, you're wearing hats until you get a haircut. And if you can't go to a specific place without wearing that hat, you're not going. I'm not going to a club because I can't wear a hat in there. I'm not going. But I mean, yeah, sometimes those little things can help. I feel like they help me motivate, you know, get inspired, inspiration, find some form of inspiration. If you struggle with motivation, that's what coaches are there for. A lot of coaches are there for. We're there for programming. We're there to help you achieve your goal, but we're also there to motivate. I think a lot of people, experienced people like yourself, when you came and you started to train with me, we were training. We did have specifics. We worked on like S&C type stuff. We're looking on strength gains. We had a couple on building blocks, but you know your stuff, Steve. You know how to train. You don't need to be really necessarily told how to train. Maybe depending on the specialist, on their experience, they might be able to help with a couple of cues and tips or help you in the moment on what they see compared to what you feel. Even me, if I'm squatting, you might be like, "Oh, turn your knees out a little bit more." I know those cues. I've been doing this for a long time. So, but it's more that motivational aspect. It's like, give me an extra 2. Fuck, I'm gassed, Nick. No, I don't give a shit. Give me an extra 2. I want an extra 2. Give me an extra 2. Give me an extra 5. Let's, like, you know, and motivating you, pushing you, and inspiring you. I guess, you know, get a coach, set yourself good behavioral traits and create a routine. Don't wait. Just go. Sign up. Super important. Don't worry about, put blinkers on. Focus on you. Focus on your goals. Take social settings and society completely out of it. Super important.
Thank you. Because, like, I think there'll be a lot of people that resonate with that, you know, especially that whole idea around, you know, sign up, make radical action straight away.
Commitment.
Then, if you want, go, but once you've done that, reward yourself a little bit. Go buy a new kit. Look good, feel good, all the rest of that shit. But at least you've gone and you've taken radical action. You've given yourself a little reward.
Yeah.
Then it's like, right, I'm going to hit the gym. I've always used it for my clients that I've, you know, tried to get back to running. I've said, do mini habits.
Yeah.
I said, I don't care. You're going to run, let's say 4 times a week, but I don't care if you're running 100 meters or 10K. You know?
Yeah.
But you have to get outside.
Achievable targets.
And guess what happens? When they run 100 meters, no one just
stops at 100 meters.
Stops at 100 meters. If it's, you need to make sure that you're inside the gym 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. No one rocks up inside the gym and then doesn't lift a weight.
Exactly.
You know, so it can literally be as small as that.
Just get yourself there.
But just get yourself there to start with. And then, you know, that blinkers mindset of just being there and being in the mindset ready to rock and roll, whether it's music or other motivational factors to get you through it. But, you know, the reward comes when you do something hard and you get that true feeling of like gratitude and achievement.
Yeah, it's huge
for yourself when you do that.
I think loads of people as well, like small goals. One more thing on that, Steve, small goals. Like if you're starting out, don't say I'm committing. Okay, yeah, I want to change my life. I want to do radical change, just signing up. But from that, just 1 session a week, I feel like I commit to a little bit more. All right, then 2 sessions a week. Don't straight away go, I need to be in the gym 6 times. Like that's unrealistic. You weren't going at all. Like set yourself a realistic goal and just build on that. You know what I mean? Habits, non-negotiables, create non-negotiables. Non-negotiables have to be one of the best things ever. Create yourself some non-negotiables. And the non-negotiable is just drive to the gym and get there. Because when you get there, like you just said, everyone's going to do something. You're not going to do nothing. You know, then you could put all the other little pieces in play. You know, those blinkers, as we mentioned, and blocking out the noise. But non-negotiables are huge.
How do people find you?
Social media. So Instagram, I don't know if you're going to pop it up, a little hyperlink.
I'll figure that out.
Yeah, figure all that out. Social media, obviously.
What's the handle?
Nico.Katsidis. Also got my business one, culturefitcoach. Yeah, can find me there. Also, just, can pop into the gyms that I work at. I'm at, Halo up the road, around the corner. I'm at Windsor Gym as well, just off Chapel Street. So pop in, say g'day if you need a hand and you want a little bit of a help.
Bro, it's been a pleasure. Honestly, I was so pumped to have a chat with you because no one knows this, but we did a podcast together when we were trying with a Macallan 12. Yeah, it would have been fucking 2 years ago.
Yeah, and some. And it was, what was that meant to be about? Like men, like the 28, it was like inspired by the 28-year-old man or something like that.
Yeah.
It was inspired by that, mate. Yeah, we literally had my camera set up. We were there for like 4 hours with the Macallan 12. FYI, that Macallan 12 is gone.
That's shattering. I found it online. Don't worry. But, you know, and it's come such a long way. And people, I want them to take away this, that we started a vision of doing a podcast together 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's happened today.
Yeah.
And things don't happen overnight.
No, they most definitely don't.
But you've got to make sure that you keep what you want closest to you and don't forget it and move towards it.
Yeah.
And however fast you move is up to you. And it doesn't matter how fast anyone else moves, because when you get there, the feeling that I get right now is, you know, we actually did it together.
Process over product. I think I'll leave on one last little statement that I got from one of my motivational coaches or inspirational coaches that I look up at, and Inky Johnson, an American didn't make the NFL, but he played at Tennessee in college, and he's now obviously a motivational coach. And he says, process is more important than a product. Your product might be to lose weight or to get to the specific goal, but you know, for instance, the podcast, the process of everything you've learned and you learn about yourself along the way is far more important sometimes than the product. You learn so much about yourself, and I feel like that is huge. And consistency, you're consistent. You stayed on the grind. You wanted to get the podcast up and running. You had the goal there. You didn't set yourself a timeline. 2 years later, here we are.
Thank you, bro.
Nah, appreciate it, man.